This one vitamin deficiency might be the reason why you're having your cramps. And if you correct this deficiency, they can go away very quickly. There are many different vitamins that we need in order to have optimal health. Some of them are fat-soluble, meaning they get stored in our fat tissue, and some are water-soluble, meaning they're not stored in our body, and we have to keep getting them from our diets. The ones that are water-soluble, we have to pay attention to how much we're getting of them. If we're getting too little or too much, there's a balance that we want to be at. I think a lot of people don't realize how many water-soluble vitamins they need on a daily basis. One thing that will kind of throw things off is going on a long fast. So let's say someone's going on a 24-hour fast. Well, then you're depleting all your stores of these water-soluble vitamins, and now you're going into foods. It's trying to make up for that deficiency of all these different vitamins. Now, it doesn't take that long to start feeling symptoms of a vitamin deficiency. Sometimes within hours, sometimes within days. And so when people are fasting, I always recommend that they supplement with a multivitamin. Now, when you look at these synthetic multivitamins, they typically are only going to have like 8 to maybe 12 vitamins in them. But really, we need about 100 different vitamins and minerals. But there's a lot of B vitamins, like 8 different B vitamins. It's a whole B complex. But what I want to talk about today is one particular B vitamin, and that is vitamin B6. And so when we're looking at a deficiency of vitamin B6, some of the symptoms are actually neurological problems. There's numbness, there's tingling, there's nerve pain. But another symptom of a vitamin B6 deficiency is cramps. And so if you look at the literature, there's quite a few studies that show that if you supplement with vitamin B6, cramps go away. Now, it's interesting because you would think that vitamin B6 would be in a lot of different foods. It's like when you look at the richest sources of vitamin B6, it's in pork chops, it's in salmon, it's in tuna, it's in chicken, it's also in bananas, it's in spinach, it's in chickpeas, it's in potatoes. And so if you're getting any of those foods, you shouldn't be deficient. But here's the problem. We've depleted the soils. So even if you're eating a banana, which supposedly has a good amount of B6, you're not getting as much vitamin B6 as you used to get years ago because the soils are so depleted. And then we start to add on to that other factors that deplete B6 is stress. And I'm talking about chronic stress. Let's say you're taking a bunch of exams at college, or you're running a business and there's a lot of pressure on you to make sure that everything goes right. Well, that can create chronic stress. Taking care of an elderly parent can create stress. Having a sick child can create stress. All these different things can create stress. If you have chronic stress, you're going to be depleting vitamin B6. Another thing that depletes vitamin B6 is alcohol. If you're drinking a lot of coffee, you're going to deplete vitamin B6. So basically what you're left with is you're going to need more. It's vitamin B6 than you used to need because of all these different things that are depleting it. You're getting less from your food because the soil is depleted. And so you're left with this situation where you might need 200% more of this nutrient than you used to need 50 years ago. So we're constantly getting bombarded by things that are depleting nutrients. Fluoride in the water supply, which you're probably thinking, well, fluoride is good for your teeth. Yes. But it also depletes vitamin B1. What about all the pesticides in our food? They deplete certain nutrients. Even the way that we're cooking our food, if we're using microwaves, that destroys nutrients. And so what ends up happening is we have this huge deficiency of many different vitamins and minerals. So people are always asking me, how do I know what supplements should I take? And you're really not going to know unless you have your minerals tested, unless you have your vitamins tested. But there is a simple way to kind of get around this. Just take a good multivitamin and you'll start to notice differences. I recommend you get at least 5,000% of the RDAS for each of the nutrients in the multivitamin. Why? Because we're so deficient in all these nutrients. When we're taking synthetic multivitamins, the RDAs were set based on preventing severe deficiency diseases. So they're only setting it just enough to prevent you from going blind or having scurvy or rickets. They're not setting it to help you reach your optimal potential. And that's what we want. We want to reach our optimal potential. We want to be at our best. You're never going to do that if you're deficient in vitamins and minerals. I have people ask me, well, what about all that extra vitamin that I'm taking? Isn't that going to hurt my kidneys or hurt my liver? Well, no, not at all. In fact, I had a doctor tell me, he said, you know, John, I used to think that the RDAs were the perfect amount that we needed. But after practicing medicine for 20 years, I realized that the RDAs are really just a minimum requirement to prevent deficiency diseases. In reality, the average person needs 10 times more nutrition than the RDAs. When you're taking large amounts of vitamins and minerals, they're not going to hurt you. In fact, you're going to feel better. I mean, think about it. When you're deficient in something, you start to feel bad. The only thing that makes you feel better is getting more of that nutrient. There's something else that I want to mention about this vitamin B6 deficiency. Not only does it cause cramps, it can cause insomnia. And I've done a lot of videos on sleep. Sleep is so important. If you don't have quality sleep, you're not going to be at your optimal potential. You're going to be tired, fatigued. You're not going to be able to lose weight. A lot of people will try to take magnesium to help them sleep at night, but they never take B6 with it. And that can be part of the problem. When you take B6 and magnesium together, it works synergistically. Another thing that's interesting about vitamin B6 is that it helps convert food into energy. So if you're fatigued, if you're tired, if you have low cartilage, you should be eating more foods that are high in B6. I talked about the natural foods that are high in B6. You can also get it from nutritional yeast. You can get it from sunflower seeds. You can get it from soybeans. The next thing that I want to talk about is vitamin B1. Vitamin B1 is essential for the proper function of your heart. If you're deficient in vitamin B1, your heart has to work harder. And so it starts to create this condition called cardiac hypertrophy, where the walls of your heart start to thicken. So instead of being thin and the chambers being big, the chambers are now smaller and the walls are thicker. And guess what? It's a situation where you have heart failure. You have congestive heart failure because your heart is working so hard. In fact, there's a Nobel Prize that was won in 1947 for discovering that a B1 deficiency causes heart disease. This is something that happened in rats. They were given a B1 deficient diet and they developed heart disease. Then when they added B1 back into the diet, it corrected the problem. So if you have a vitamin B1 deficiency, you're putting yourself at risk for getting cardiovascular disease. It's very easy to correct this problem. Take a B1 supplement. There's no side effects from taking B1. And B1 helps convert your food into energy. The source of energy is called ATP, and B1 is right in the middle of that pathway. You can also develop a B1 deficiency by taking a lot of refined sugar. Refined sugar depletes B1. Alcohol depletes B1. So does stress. And another thing that depletes B1 is eating a lot of refined carbohydrates. When you eat foods like white bread, pasta, cereal, crackers, biscuits, waffles, pancakes, muffins, soda, pop, juice, anything that's made out of refined flour, it's going to deplete B1. And this is why when you eat this stuff, it creates this blood sugar roller coaster. You start off with this spike, and then you have this rush. And during that crash, you're going to be craving more carbs. And then when those carbs raise up, then you have another crash. And so you're stuck on this cycle. Now, if you want to learn more about the vitamin that helps regulate insulin, watch this video right here.